Fantastic.
Doing well.
Ooh, we're in a time warp. Let's do the time warp again, friends. If we could go ahead and close the slide there on the back end, that would be great so I can see everybody. And we could also need to boot one of the Dans, I think. There we go. And yes, on the back end, friends, if you could just go ahead and pull off the slide, my Power to Fly team, I'd love to. There we go. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Oh, still one more. One more test. There we go. I think, did we do it? We did it. Hello, hello, hello. Alice and Dan, Vivian, how are y'all doing?
Great. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So I did a little bit, just a brief snippet. We still got it. Oh boy. Just another check here. Okay. I think we may have done it. All right. So I did a little brief intro there of each of you, but I'd love to hear more details from each of you as well. So we'll just go around a little Red Robin style. Allison, would you like to kick us off with a little introduction of yourself, a little bit of your journey and what you're currently doing?
Sure. Yeah. I'm glad that you didn't read off the entire bio. It's kind of long. Like sitting here just watching you read, and I was like, oh geez, there's a lot. Yeah, so as Hunter mentioned, my pronouns are she, her. I'm a senior manager of program management at Raytheon, doing EOIR, emerging tech programs, which is like the little eyeball camera systems on jets and missiles and things like that. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. It's very complex, and even I don't understand it all. So I have a great team that supports me. I've been in defense for 13-ish years now. Apart from that, I've been very involved in the LGBTQ plus community. I am a best-selling author. I actually pulled my book down from Amazon, but you can still find it out there. Definitely engage either doing public speaking, or just supporting others in the community as needed, making sure that I'm a resource. Especially I live in Alaska, so there's not a ton of resources up here. So as people reach out looking for different resources, it's great to be able to provide them some of the resources that I've come up with over the years. I am also a published photographer and an avid traveler. I've been to, I think, 44 states, 35 national parks, covered 65,000 miles in the last 3 years. I have a master's from Walden University and a bachelor's from Stockton. And again, I live in Alaska. My fiance, 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a baby pig.
What's the pig's name?
Daisy.
Daisy!
My fiance had to have a pig, so yeah.
I love pigs.
I lost that one.
Dan, how about you? Thank you for all of that, Allison. Welcome.
Good to see you, Allison. I'm Dan Gaylord. I live in Dallas. I actually work in our Richardson office. I do specific build outs for different customers, building different hardware systems and supporting infrastructure and then helping rebuild them. I really enjoy having a company that supports different diversity, equity, inclusion opportunities. So this was really the first company that I'd come to where there was such an opportunity, and I wanted to be a leader in that. And it took me many years in my life, so I was well over 40, to feel comfortable doing that. And Raytheon has given me a place to do that. I believe that having allies also begins with being a friend to all. So I came into this government contractor environment was new to me, and it's often not necessarily, people are very reserved. So I do a lot to open them up, to make the environment very welcoming for everyone, and to make it a place that LGBTQ people can feel comfortable and at home too. So I'm very passionate about that, and I love being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Love having you here. Vivian.
Hi guys, my name is Vivian Ramos. Thank you for the introductions there, Hunter. I think you did a really good job. Likewise, I was hoping you didn't read the whole thing. Very impressive backgrounds for both Dan and Allison. Hard to come after them. But I'm happy to be here. I am also in the Dallas area. I actually work in the Dallas facility. Raytheon has a strong presence in the North Texas area, a lot of different sites around here. I've been with Raytheon for more than 17 years, doing a variety of things. My electrical engineering is my background, performing that for a long period of time, went into mission assurance, which is what my bio shows, and very recently I actually started changing into the operations program management role that I'm in currently. So very excited to try a lot of different things within the company. A company like Raytheon has a lot to offer in terms of moving around, taking advantage of that. I am in the LGBTQ realm. I am proudly and positively a transgender woman. My pronouns are she, her, and happy to be representing and be part of this community.
So awesome. I also love the uniformity of the backgrounds here. I just have to say, like, go team. Very nice, like a very colorful screen. I know I'm in the right place, so thank you. So I love it. So what we're gonna do, I think, because there's three or four of us rather, I'll go around, I'll call on each of y'all as we're asking questions, but also feel free to, come off mute, jump in if you want to add anything. And to our listeners, this is interactive. If you have any questions, we have three very smart cookies here with a lot of experience. So if you want to ask questions, ask them often, ask them early. I encourage you, because this time is gonna fly. So this panel, we're talking about what allyship means, and I'd love to hear from each of you on that. So what does allyship mean to you, and what do you think we can really define that term on a whole, or is it something that's different for each person? I heard one time someone say, well, allyship isn't something one can claim. It's something that someone else puts upon you. And once I heard that, it was actually one of these summits. I was like, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. So there's the can of worms. Let's open up. Let's get into it, friends. Vivian, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I like what you said about, that's something that somebody else puts upon. I think it's a way to interpret, who grants the label of allyship, right? A lot of times we kind of, and some people don't like labels, and it's all a matter of how you perform in your allyship, regardless of what label it's upon you. I always see allyship as a way to take action, right? I once saw somebody start making this online social media post where somebody posted a start of a sentence that says, allyship without action is as good as, and then people started putting all the different things, allyship, and somebody posted things like a door in a submarine, right? Like, okay, yeah, allyship without action is as good as a door in a submarine. I get the message. In that allyship and that message, that action can be a lot of things, right? It can be, for me, it can be very simple things as, putting your pronouns out there, showing yourself as a safe space to where others can be themselves around you, all the way from, participating in activities, taking, activism roles, many things. So there's a lot of stuff in between. I love the allyship topic. I love to talk about it. I'll let others chime in as well.
Yes, thank you for that. Dan, how about you?
And just to add to that, my perspective on allyship is something, well, to go with what you said, that was really great. That allyship is something someone puts upon you. And I think one of my talents is that I put that upon others by showing up, by being respectful, by making friendships, by making relationships, by being consistent and constant in my passion and love for people. And love that we all have equality in this world. We should have equality in this world. And that comes from treating each other with dignity and respect. So that's how I kind of, I mean, for lack of better words, reel in participants and allies and people to be supportive. And, you know, other than that, I just kind of live a gentle, quiet life. And so people see that I'm just like anybody else. And I need to back up one step. I am so honored to be on this panel with these two women. I love both of them deeply, and I have yet to meet Allison in person, but I have read her book and spent some time with her on different calls. So I'm delighted to be with both of you. And Vivian, you know, we just did the Dallas Pride Parade together. So yeah, so we are close, and so we have built some kindred friendship and allyship together here. So from my perspective is that it does come from within. It's what you give out that you attract, that you feel that you know someone might be willing to find a commonality with you just by being kind to them. So
I love that. Yeah, to hearken to what you spoke to earlier of being the friend to all. I love that. That's really beautiful. I think those are wise words, and bringing dignity and respect to each conversation. And then that can be reflected back. You know, I like the reeling in concept is fun. You're like, just come with us, nice and gently. We're not a cult, we promise. It's really fun over here, actually.
Drink
Alice,
the Kool-Aid.
yeah, exactly. It's just sweet, and it's spiked if you want it. That's separate because we're, you know, observing some folks might be sober. And Allison, how about you? What's your take on allyship?
So I think I have a slightly different take. I mean, I don't think that it's something that's necessarily bestowed upon you, but I think that it's, I mean, I guess it could be, but you know, I think that it's a choice. It's, you know, you choosing to engage, you choosing to be that person that stands up for others, all others. You know, and it becomes a responsibility at that point, you know. You don't have to know somebody who's Black, brown, immigrant, female, trans, gay, lesbian, you know, and on and on and on. You know, it's just choosing to be a good person, you know, and that's a responsibility that you take knowingly. Again, you can engage it however, whatever level, you know, I guess you want, you know, from active to passive, things from like pronouns passive, you know, in your email signature, to active, you know, advocating for others. You know, I share this quote every time it pops up in my Facebook memories. It says, you know, if you and I were in a store together and somebody was bullying me, would you stand up for me? Would you do it because you knew me? Would you do the same thing for somebody else if you didn't know them? And that's really what allyship is. It's standing up for everybody, not just for me because you're my friend, because you know me, but standing up for others, just being a good person. I mean, it's not hard to just, you know, not be shitty. You know, I don't know how else to put that, you know, make sure that everybody has an equal chance. You know, and I always say, you know, in this country, you know, it's the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, I think that we all deserve that equal shot. And that's, you know, allyship, standing up and making sure others have that equal shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
And I love what you were just hearkening to about these passive and active you know, roles we can do, or things we can do. So some people can see it being, you know, some people it's an identity, and some it's a process, right? It's like sometimes it's a noun, sometimes it's a verb to like be active in it. So I'd love to hear more about some examples or experiences any of y'all have about that. Allison, because we were just talking about it, I'll follow up with you. Any more differences between like more like active things that you've seen folks can do, or that you do as well as an ally maybe to others?
I think it's harder for me to see too many in person. I work remotely. I live in Alaska. There's not a lot of people here. I'm here by choice. But when I see things on social media from somebody who, I know as either a colleague, or and even on LinkedIn and such like that, somebody that's a colleague, or somebody that's that I happen to follow that has no relation to me whatsoever, in a friendship way or anything, and they share things supporting others that don't look like themselves, saying, why can't people be the person that they feel inside that they are, or support women or support immigrants. When you see other people actively doing that and they have no reason for doing that, is the bad word, when they have no, I guess, like when they have no responsibility bestowed upon them, they're choosing to be that ally. And I think that's where I was originally going with that message. You choose to be that ally when it's not your daughter that's transgender, and you choose to put something out there about acceptance. That's more what I think, about seeing that active participation, not just saying like, yeah, I accept everybody, but I'm not going to stand up for others. It's that bully scenario. Do you stand up or do you not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Vivian, how about you with these active approaches to allyship?
Absolutely. I am I'm all over, propping up our allies in every chance that I can. I think that, that's the only way that we can advance towards, true equality is through allyship of others, because, people in our community are such a small minority that we're, in the little bit that we move towards equality all by ourselves, we're never going to get there. We need strong allies that use privileges that they already have to advance equality for our groups. I wanted to mention recently, I was actually, Dan was in that call where we were kind of doing planning for a Pride event within Raytheon for a Pride parade. And we were introducing the different leaders that were trying to help plan within their sites. And there was somebody that introduced them. We all introduced ourselves. I say I'm so and so. My pronouns this and that. And this individual introduced themselves, and we kind of asked, kind of what brings you to the LGBTQ community, and the way they said it was, "I'm just an ally," and I immediately came off mute and I say, you do not say I'm just an ally. You have to be proud about it, because we don't get it all the time. And we have to, prop individuals that are willing to speak up and take an active role. I mean, this individual was planning, helping us plan for a Pride parade. So there's many things that can be done. We can all be safe spaces for somebody else. I mean, even for myself here at Raytheon, I end up speaking at events like this, planning events and helping where I can, and people reach out and say, thank you for, being open about who you are, and then they say, I'm still not there. But I am trying to get there at some point, and just seeing others, open that space for people like us. It just means a lot. I think there's many ways in which we can get involved and take action, and it could be very little things. It could be just not taking part of jokes that people make, or correcting somebody else when somebody makes a mistake. It could be simple things like that. It doesn't have to be huge, and it starts like that, and maybe you can grow into doing very significant impacts for the community rather than just one special individual. But in all aspects are all important, and I like to always bring them up any chance I get.
I think it's so important to have these incremental changes, because they amount to massive changes.
Yes.
Dan, would you like to speak on the active conversation of allyship, or these more passive ways as well?
So actively, within the company, I have actively pursued making allies with all of our other leadership And and as Vivian was saying, even crossing into one of our other companies that's nearby and incorporating them in our activities and getting them to do vice versa. That creates an increased relationship of acceptance and welcome. And I think the welcome is the really important part. And as Allison was talking about, it is something that you actively do. You actively live this. This is what you breathe and eat and live every moment of your day. And I do that in my personal life, and I do that here. So so as you're kind of talking about, they're not necessarily these tremendously large moments that happen all the time. They're these small incremental things that you do all the time that build these allyships, that find these allies who really need to have the relationship with you too. So this happens to me. I think I've mentioned one to Vivian. A lady in my church mentioned that her granddaughter is transitioning. So I was the first person she's told. So, and that's because of how I live, how open I am, how accepting I am, how welcoming I am. And I mean, there's always room for improvement, but these little acts do build up, as you said. So I do appreciate that. That's so very true.
I love that. And, Vivian, I love that you mentioned that you advocated for someone on the call, and you're like, you don't undercut yourself, that you're just an ally, which makes me think about giving feedback. That one was like an immediate moment where you like stepped in for someone, and advocated for them, and also, kind of you're like, hey, this is important. But it's part of the process, right? Of like giving and receiving feedback to allies, potentially from allies. Do y'all have a process for this, for feedback? Vivian, I'm pitching it back over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I love the feedback conversation too. I love doing that in general, especially when it's something good, especially when it's something important, and it doesn't have to be a thing. It can just be as quick as unmuting yourself and saying you did something good, and take credit for it, and that's it, right? And we don't have to make a big deal. It is what it is. But there are times when the feedback isn't positive, right? It's somebody that's done something that perhaps wasn't that inadvertently hurt somebody else's feelings, or did something to exclude somebody that maybe they should have not done, things like that. Those can be a little more challenging, more difficult, but they can definitely be an advocate for those that were being excluded, those who were being the subject of a poor comment on things like that. And sometimes you kind of read the room a little bit, right? They perhaps didn't mean to be like that, and you want the feedback to be as fluent as possible, and to the other person's not intimidated, right? I get a lot of people are intimidated. They don't know, they want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to be around somebody just because they don't want to say something. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be casual. It can be simple. It can be quick, and we can just move on, right? It's just a simple correction, and we just move on. I think a lot of people, I think the majority of people want to do the right thing, and they want to be good people. And I think we gotta give those individuals the opportunity to be the good people that they can be, and just give them an avenue to do that, right? This is how we do it. Let's do it together. I think we can do things like that.
I think that's so important, and I think I'm glad you spoke to like positive reinforcement is so important, and it can just be small and quick, but those little things stand out, for folks. I know they certainly do for me, especially, as a lot of us are hardwired to have like negativity biases. Yes, negativity constructive feedback can sometimes be interpreted as negative, but it's also very valuable. And to balance it out, those small bits of feedback that are positive, just, help guide people that they're on the right track. So we're almost out of time, which is bonkers because this conversation is flying by. So I'm going to move to a different question. I think you summed that up so well, Vivian. I'm sure Allison, Dan, I know you have a lot of great insight on this, but I'm gonna keep it going. So Vivian, can you speak to, or excuse me, Allison, can you speak to in what ways Raytheon practices encourages real allyship as opposed to performative allyship?
I mean, I think that it's things like this, giving people the opportunity to talk, to engage, to ask questions, in a respectful manner and stuff. I think part of the problem just everywhere, not at Raytheon only, but everywhere is, how do you engage those that aren't involved or want to be involved to become allies? A lot of people say, why do you have to talk about being gay at work? I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to talk about being trans at work, but I can't not bring my whole self to work. A Black person can't choose to leave their color at the door, and so on and so forth and stuff. So it's important to know that others are accepting. That's why you practice that passive and active allyship. Seeing somebody's pronouns in their email signature at least lets you know that they're, an accepting person. So you don't have to fear any anxiety of having, say a picture on your desk of you and your partner that may be same sex, or interracial or so on and so forth. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there for people to practice that allyship. And I think that when you get a company that engages and allows people to, one, bring their whole selves to work, to engage in formats like this, that have, a certain template for like business cards or email signatures that promotes putting your pronouns on there, that asks for a pledge of allyship, that engages in ethics and human resource training, that gives a variety of scenarios with different people from different backgrounds. I mean, it's not only LGBTQIA plus community, it's everybody, right? So you really got to make sure that companies are pushing that to make sure that they reach everybody, and again, I'll go back to my original message. It's about just not being shitty. If you just share that with others, and I mean, I meet people up here in Alaska, it's a red state, that aren't on that same journey. And it's just like, why can't you just be a good person to others? Yeah. And that's that allyship. So
I love that, Allison. I have I love to keep it simple, and for me, it's like keep it simple, sweetheart. I've changed that last word to be a little kinder to myself. Yeah. So thank you for making it simple for me today, and thank you all. I hope you all come back. We could do an hour with you easily, So thank you so much, Allison, Dan, Vivian, for making the time. This was absolutely wonderful. Please, please, please come back and stay safe. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you so much for having us on here. This was a great conversation.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.